Well, David Misch knows a thing or two about what's funny. He worked on the hit comedy Mork and Mindy, the Muppets movie, Saturday Night Live, and now the stand-up comic and folk singer has put his knowledge into a new book. It is called Funny the Book. David's here to tell us all about that. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
So you did a lot of research. What kind of information did you put into the book besides what's funny?
Everything I could steal. I went to...
As most great comics do.
Absolutely. Well, yes, and most great researchers do. As an important scholarly person, I immediately went to Wikipedia and took everything they had. But it's actually a starting point, and I ended up doing far more research than I expected I would do in far more unusual places than I thought I would enter, the medical journals and things like that. It was not something I was wholly prepared for, but it turned out to be fun.
And you actually traced the origin of humor back to BC.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of speculation because other than Mel Brooks, no one was alive at the beginning of humor. But there's some speculation that perhaps early man was watching a woolly mammoth attack, or we don't know the precise animal, but some animal attacking. He prepares to scream the alarm to his tribe. The mammoth slips and falls, not uncommon during the Ice Age, and his scream of alarm turns into a guffaw, and his grimace of fear turns into a smile, and that could have been the beginning of laughter in any case, and comedy followed soon thereafter.
We talk about people's sense of humor, and different people find different things funny, but it seems there's a lot of humor about bodily functions.
There is, and I actually deal with that. I just was talking to some people last night and posed the question, why are farts funny? And farts have been funny. The oldest recorded joke is a fart joke, something which has never happened. This is from a Sumerian tablet in 1800 BC, something which has never happened since time began. A young woman did not fart in her husband's lap. So the question is, why are farts funny? It could be the noise. I've speculated if the noise was a wind chime, would we laugh as much? You know, I think perhaps not. Perhaps we'd swoon with delight. But
third grade boys right now are giggling as they're watching. And you also explore some of the really important comics to come into the industry. What is it about these comics that make them so successful? Talking about the Marx Brothers and Steve Martin. Do they all have one thing in common, or is it their uniqueness?
It's their uniqueness. They all have different things, but they're all unusual. I mean, you can get the greatest joke in the world, but if it doesn't match your persona, if it doesn't come out of something really exciting and interesting about you, it's not going to hit. The comics I cover in the book are ones I think who are not necessarily the greatest, but they're the most unique. They're the ones who moved comedy forward the most. Steve Martin is one of them, and he had this amazing intellectual idea that you could force the audience to figure out what's funny, and somehow that would make him unique, and it did.
You're a comic. What do you find funny?
Well, I have been a comic. I'm now a sober professor, boring students late at night. But I love Monty Python. I love Steve Martin. I love the Marx Brothers. But what I often say, I quote Shakespeare, who said, a joke's prosperity lies in the ear of him that hears it, never in the tongue of him that makes it. Meaning, we all have our own senses of humor, and no one's is better than anyone else's.
You are a professor, aren't you? What would we find interesting in the book?
The beginnings of all sorts of humor. There's a lot of the history, and Commedia dell'arte. There was a character called Harlequin who would hit people with a stick that made a loud noise, and was called the batocchio, which in English is translated as the slap stick. So that's where that term comes from. And I think there's lots of fun stuff about the origins of some of the great comics, Marx Brothers, Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin. But it covers so many things, the health benefits of humor and the science behind humor, the body's funniest chemical, which is dopamine. So stuff like that.
It's all in the book. David,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here. For more information about David Misch and the book, check out our website, kcal9.com. Click Seen on TV.